Hello everybody and welcome to another Beyond All Reason video. We are back on the cold place and we have the current #1 in the leaderboard, Mr. Blodir versus Sashkorin. Been a very long time since we've seen this map. Had some great matches that ended up going to Tech 3 and but unfortunately now we will see how this match goes. Now, Blodir currently playing as Cortex in red in the top left-hand corner, and his opponent, Sashkorin, in blue, playing Armada and also starting bots. Surprisingly, actually built his lab here on the geothermal point, which is quite surprising. But let's have a look at the map for all of those of you that are new around here. So, as you can see, very obviously here, built around this central triangle. This water, although it has no metal, plays a strategic value here of pushing everyone around the edges of it. Not only that, but the hills along the corners here are only transversable via bots. And because it's only transversable via bots, it does make a bit of an impact in quite a few of the games. Because if your opponent kind of bottlenecks along here, you're able to try and go over the top and kind of bypass your opponent. Not only that, but when your opponent is, bottlenecking in this top section here, you could send amphibious units through the water to strike your opponent where he least expects it. Now, from this early part here, Armada doing what Armada does best and sending out some very early ticks to harass Blodir with just some grunts here already out to defend. However, we'll see some great micro work here from Sashkorin as he's able to get this metal extractor and get away before getting caught. And this just shows the micro skills of these players, able to control these ticks and these small units with such efficiency and being aware of line of sight and everything to not get caught. Because unlike some RTSs, Beyond a Reason does have line of sight mechanics. Units are only able to shoot and get blocked by things. So like this grunt right now is not able to shoot the tick because the metal extractor was blocking it due to height. So that is one thing to be aware of if you're very new to bar, because that can definitely throw you off if you're not aware of it. This also means that grouped up units are unable to shoot through each other. Like if you have a group of these grunts, only the front ones are going to be able to shoot. So that is why you'll often see units spread out in a very large line. Now, Blodir tried to make some room here with his grunts, trying to push these ticks off. Unfortunately, due to just how much room there is, it's going to be difficult for him to be able to do that effectively. So he's just currently guarding all of his expansion here with a couple of grunts. This is very micro-intensive here, as you basically have to be paying attention to, well, the entirety of your section of the map. And if you lax for just a second, you end up losing something. So it's very, very difficult, as anyone that's ever played 1v1s will know. Blodir here attempting to kind of scout and see what the deal is with Sash, seeing where he's expanded to right now. Unfortunately, he was caught very early on. These grunts will just slowly make their way around to try and see if they can get anything. You can see here that Blodir is not aware of any enemy constructions other than that LLT. He does see these units now. But Sashkorin already with a radar, able to see that grunt going up the hill. Now, one thing of note is that you should definitely subscribe to this channel, because if you like bar and you're watching this, only 20% of you are currently subscribed, so hit that button. I would be amazed if we make it to 3,000 subscribers before the end of the year. I don't know if we'll be able to do it, but please prove me wrong. I would very much like to be proven wrong. And Sashkorin here, able to get yet another metal extractor. Probably a additional one here if he's able to control this tick very well. And he does look like he's able to get around from that grunt. Does lose the tick though in the end, but... Now this is a big loss though. Loses a forward construction bot. He does have 2 more, but that's quite a substantial loss early on. He may end up just building a res bot though to deal with that. And another thing here to note is that this map is quite metal heavy. All of these metal points are 2.4 or 2.3. There are some that are lower. As you can see, these are 1.7s. But that does mean this map is very metal intensive. So what you'll end up seeing here is either 2 things. One, swarms of units of like lower grade, or a transition over to tanks because of, you know, the use of heavy amounts of metal. However, if they transition over to vehicles, you then run the risk of getting flanked through the mountains due to vehicles not being able to path up there. So it's kind of a bit of a trade-off. Sashkorin applying pressure here, but Blodir using grunts to their effectiveness here of trying to keep range. But some slight error there from Blodir as he kind of just lets these 3 grunts go through. Sorry, pawns. Pawns, not grunts. This, no, luckily enough. Very luckily enough for Blodir at least. He manages to kill those before they cause him too much of a problem. Now this will manage to get this construction bot up here. How much more it'll be able to get is unknown just yet. But you can just see there, for an example, these back guys unable to fire really very effectively due to their positioning, and they were slightly out of range. But you'll see if you group up units too closely like this, you then run the risk of ones not being able to shoot or inflicting friendly fire. And you do not want to inflict friendly fire. And we'll see this just now as these 2 forces fight. This back one never actually shot. Whereas these Sashkorin's units able to surround him very effectively and take out all grunts because all of those pawns were firing at the same time. Now, as predicted here, we do see Sashkorin switching over to vehicles. He does look like he's keeping the bot lab as well. What you can see, though, sometimes is they build both factories, and then when they plan to transition to Tech 2, they'll reclaim both factories as a bit of a metal bank. You can see here, if we select Sashkorin, that this is 650 metal, and that's 740. Although that's not enough to pay for a Tech 2 lab together, it is a substantial chunk of the cost of it. And Sashkorin right now with 900 metal saved up as well, and also building an air lab. So if you didn't manage to combine all of those, we can't tell just yet how much that's going to be, but Blodir here doing the typical Cortex thing of getting some shurikens. And that's probably why Sashkorin is also going an air lab himself, because he knows they're coming. He knows he's a Cortex player. He knows those shurikens are coming at some point. So, being prepared for it already. Not only that, but we have bombers on the way. Question is, how much is these bombers going to be able to do? Some fighters already up. And here they come. Scouts have not gone with the bombers. So they don't, in essence, know what's there. Just bombing the rough area. Unfortunately, though, I would argue that these haven't been quite as effective as he probably hoped for. Oh, but that was a very good bomb run there. A lot of wins got taken out. 2 construction turrets, though, very low health. And luckily enough for Sashkorin, the next bombing run doesn't manage to complete. That bomber, though, did slam right into a windmill and sent the windmill flying. And so, even in death, Blodir manages to get a couple more hits. The bane of Armada's life, the Shuriken. Able to cause so much hassle for his opponent. But look at the forces up here along the north side. Blodir also transitioning over to vehicles himself now. As a substantial amount of brutes along this north side. And this is somewhat dangerous to let your opponent take this north side, especially as a Cortex player. Blodir will be able to build a Cerberus on this north side. And for those that aren't aware of what a Cerberus is a Tech 2 geo-powered artillery. And it has a huge range. It can basically force his opponent, I think, somewhere like back here. And that will basically seed this, entire section. That's a lot of area to kind of just leave behind. An idle construction bot. I wouldn't really say that's trolling just because he has an idle construction bot. He has a lot to think about right now. And just this quiet period now as both players kind of eco up a little bit. And here we see actually the transition that we mentioned before over to Tech 2. Sashkorin going Tech 2 vehicles at this point. Unfortunately, though, he's only just run out of metal. Meanwhile, at the same time, Blodir has transitioned himself over to Tech 2 vehicles as well. So it seems both players are deciding to just forego the hills part of this map, but that does give them the choice for amphibious units here, like the turtle, to push through the water and open a different avenue of attack. But yeah, Sashkorin still not building this geo. I mean, now with where he's built his Tech 2 lab, that kind of makes sense because you don't want a geo exploding right next to your factory. But surprising that he didn't build the Tech 2 lab, I don't know, like here instead, or even like here, pointing that way, so that he could build like at least the Tech 1 geo. But no, I'm guessing he's thinking, I've got enough wind, I don't care about geos. If we look at this other side, we will see that there is no geo in this spawn. The geo would be down here, which we see Blodir taking advantage of. But surprisingly, Blodir happy to seed this bottom half of the map here. Which, the reason for that is because Sashkorin's base is obviously on the bottom side. Which means it's quicker for Sashkorin to get reinforcements on this bottom side. Now, if Blodir tried to pressure the bottom side as well, he would run into problems of units getting there. Sashkorin's units would get there a lot quicker. And that's basically a similar situation on the top. Blodir can get his units to this top part a lot quicker, which is why he's applying pressure up there. Because it's going to take longer for Sashkorin to get reinforcements up there. Now these beamers not really able to withstand the sheer firepower of the Tiger and Brute combo. Oh, they're just kind of tickling the brutes. And this is also a surprising turn of events. Building an advanced geo up here rather than a Cerberus means that Blodir is basically like, yeah, I don't need to worry about that. It'll be fine. Because obviously if that thing blows, the entire front line that he held up there would be gone. But Blodir just heavily pushing in now. Applying lots of pressure to this north side. You can actually see on the mini-map here that Sashkorin's actually pulling his forces back now along the bottom because he doesn't want to risk not being able to reinforce. There are some bulls here now, which will slowly start turning the tide. Do we see any other units? Nope, just more bulls. You see how quickly bulls deal with these brutes. Not only that, but bulls have a small amount of splash damage. And due to that, are able to cause some significant damage to grouped up units like all of those brutes. And because of a little bit of mismanagement there, the bull's actually causing a lot more splash damage than intended. And now Sashkorin is kind of at a more of a stronger point here. He has 4 bulls. There are 5 tigers. But the bulls are definitely coming out ahead here. And that's a lot of reclaim to leave to your opponent. 3.3k metal just sat up there right now. No more shurikens being built right now. Still only tigers. Half surprised we're not seeing, like, you know, a single banisher in the mix there. Just to kind of apply some long range pressure. But economy wise, Blodir very heavily in the lead here. Metal produced 5k metal ahead, but with this console here able to get this 3k metal, that might change very quickly. But instead it's very busy building mines. Whereas energy produced, Blodir with 300k energy ahead. Energy doesn't mean too much in the grand scheme of things. The reason why he is so far ahead is because he's got this advanced geo up here and, you know, this standard geo. So it's kind of expected. Blodir's calm though, hiding up in the hills. And there we go, we start to see some banishers coming out here. Banishers are going to be able to basically apply pressure from a long range, forcing Blodir to either fall back or push in. And right now, Blodir is ahead in unit count there. There's like 17 tigers as opposed to 8 bulls. And advantage is to Blodir. Meanwhile, this southern side has been stale. No real movement at all. And because of that, Sashkorin has been freely able to go Tech 2 on there. Apparently not waiting for the banishers and just going in on this attack here. I guess the plan is to try and stop his opponent getting all of that res. Applying a bit of pressure, trying to force them back. Unfortunately for Blodir, however, all of that res has been pretty much secured by Blodir, by Sashkorin. And interestingly enough, we see a naval factory from Blodir. Don't very often see that, but it does look like his plan here is to just get these missile corvettes here to just kind of sit in the water and slowly whittle away those fighters. Will this pulsar get built? No. He stopped building it. I was going to say, that's an interesting place for that radar thing. Is right in front of the pulsar. But the banishers have arrived. You can see they don't do a lot of damage, but they do 25% of a bull, plus a little bit of splash. And you can see now this is like forcing Sashkorin to make a mind up here. Is he pulling back? Is he going in? The longer he hesitates, the more damage he's taking. Ooh, and that was some damage on the building units there. And that pop-up defense has a armor buff whilst it's down, and yet still taking a lot of damage. And now that it came up to say hello, it gets annihilated. But speaking of annihilators, Pulsar has been built. This is going to force Blodir back. And that banisher there gets popped in a single shot. What this is also going to do, though, is it's going to cause a very strong defensive radius here around... I'm trying to see if there's a way of showing the range. There you go. Look at that range that's going to be able to defend. So now what Blodir needs is he needs some radar jammers. That will basically nullify these pulsars somewhat. You can see here they only have this much range. And therefore, like vision rather. So therefore you would need vision or radar to be able to see stuff. But if radar jammers are there, the units will be able to get close enough. Now this will be annoying for Sashkorin here, as these missile things are just kind of like slowly whittling down this air force. Don't know how effective this is going to be, though. I mean, yeah, all he needs to build is some of these starlights, and then that will basically counter that entire navy. But a bit of a stalemate drawn out now. These pulsars definitely have put a damper on things. Good harass happening, though, with these ships. Looks like he's getting some value out of them, at least. And at the same time, look at the push in on the north. Now, a way of potentially cancelling out these pulsars is by building grunts, which the pulsars hit instead. However, that's not been the case, and these tigers that get right up in these pulsars. They are very spread out, though, and they managed to take one of the pulsars down. Most of the bulls have been destroyed. They haven't killed the second one. And there goes the second one. Huge amount of res bots behind, with 20k metal just sat right here. At the same time, though, Tech 3 about to come out from Sashkorin. Tech 3 also started being built here by Blodir at the exact same time. That just shows how good both of these players are. Their timings on Tech 2 and Tech 3 were basically identical. The only issue here for Sashkorin is that his opponent is right on the edge of the base. Some defensive pulsars have been built, but this is a big explosive bomb sat right in the middle of Sashkorin's base now, as he finally built that geo. Not only that, but look at the amount of wind power damage being dealt at the back by this like set of a few tigers. And the Razorback also gets taken out by the just sheer overwhelming force of tigers. This is going to be very difficult for Sashkorin to bring this back. Now, there is a lot of metal to be had inside of his base. But saying that, he still hasn't dealt with these two tigers just slowly going around, destroying all the windmills. And there they go. Finally taken out. But this is going to be difficult now. Sashkorin trying to get some tech free up, but he's only been able to build Razorbacks. And look at the amount of Shivas just sat here underwater waiting. Look at them marching out of that factory. Just a sheer overwhelming force of Shivas. And little does Sashkorin know that he has this many right now. And surprisingly enough, Blodir actually resurrecting all this stuff on this north side. Rather than just reclaiming it to build more tech free, he's deciding to resurrect it. Now the reason for that could be to just keep the pressure here. You know, by resurrecting here, he's forcing, you know, his opponent to have to attack this rather than just, you know, freely re-give that terrain. But the Shiva's now made landfall. Not only that, but we see Tech 2 boats on the way as these cruise missile ships slowly make their way over. And what the smart person would do here is Blodir would use these missile ships to take out the pulsar before going in. Either that or he can take out the energy. All of these units up here are basically resurrected. You can see how quickly those Razorbacks die. And actually going for the advanced Geo. We see this missile land. No? Yes? Now these cruise missile ships are a bit more of a you know, AoE damage now, rather than a very old, long time ago they used to be like very accurate, but it made them very difficult to play against. And the resurrected pulsar is now even more heavily contained Sashkorin, and I don't see any way for Sashkorin to bring this back. He is so heavily outgunned. Metal produced, though, is only 25% difference, but that 25% is 39,000 metal. But the army value here is huge, 300% difference. And Sashkorin knows that's the end, and he calls it GG. So, Blodir superior, and that's why he's ranked #1. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this one. Don't forget to hit that subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.